So because I'm gonna tell you about ChatGPT, I asked ChatGPT to create a background story, and it came up with this, and I put in the name of the talk using ChatGPT to build a machine learning model, and this is what I got. As you can see, a person, and then this is how it visualizes itself.
Kind of scary, isn't it?
Yes. Actually, every time you ask GPT to make an animation, it looks quite scary.
Oh, wow.
You can also say make it more epic, and then it becomes even more epic. Yeah. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about how to use ChatGPT to build a machine learning model, and especially about how to use GPT in a smart way, and what GPT is very good at. Because I think a lot of you guys use GPT for maybe translating or for helping your code become faster or something. But I've noticed that a lot of people use it in an inefficient way. And there are some YouTube videos that give some tips and tricks on how to use it more efficient. And I've watched those, and I've noticed that my usage of prompts is much better, and my output is also much, much, much better. So spending like 10 or 20 minutes on this is actually very important, I think. So yeah, you can ask me any questions along the way. So there's 5 points that they give you when you ask or when you watch one of those YouTube videos. And I think the first point is the most important point, and that is that GPT can be very useful to create useful code, but it can also create unusable code and give you some random things. If you want to have the best results, you need to input a very clear and a detailed prompt. So you have to input exactly what you want to have, how you want to have it, and what you already have. So I'm going to show you some examples later of what are good prompts. And then GPT is very good at helping you, but it's not so good at making things from scratch. So I see some people asking GPT, make me a machine learning model, transformer model. This is my data. Then it will give you sometimes a very complicated model, overly complicated, or something that doesn't work. What I've noticed in my experience is if I feed it something, so for example, if I put as an input this model that I will provide it to you, then tell it to transform it into a transformer, for example, it works much better because it sees like, okay, this is the way that you code, this is the layout you like, and these kind of functions you like, and then it can give you a better output that fits to your needs. Because if you just ask it to make a model, it's just gonna generate some random stuff with each other. Sometimes it works, but it doesn't mean that it's a good model. So ask it to help you and not to create something from scratch. Then also very, very important thing is that if you have output, be very critical of what you have. Because GPT makes a lot of mistakes and can also generate random sentences, for example. So never trust your output blindly and try to understand the whole code, what you get. And there are some tips that can help you make this an easier process that I will show you later. Like, for example, asking GPT to explain every part of the code. So you can read through the script, read through the details of GPT, and then think by yourself, does it make sense or doesn't it make sense? And make some print statements. It's better to really check your output than just copy it, because sometimes it feels faster to just copy it and use it, but it's always less fast because there's always some mistakes. And what also works really well is to just interact with GPT as in a conversation. So you first put in a super nice prompt, you get some results, and then you just ask more stuff like, oh, can you explain this more? Or, no, this is not good, give me something else. This is how I talk with GPT as a person. Don't forget to thank it in case the robots take over the future. Okay, so then here are some example prompts. So the questions that you asked, and with the points I just told you. So what would be a bad prompt is just simply saying, tell me about machine learning. This is not clear and specific. What would be clear would be, explain how transformers work in machine learning with a simple example. So you ask something and you also say what you want to have a simple example. Then you want to give as much context as possible. So not write a script for a machine learning model, but write a Python script using some tool to train something on a data set with two numerical features. So you give a lot of context, and this is actually not enough context yet, but I will show you a good input later. Then what is very important when you are writing a prompt is to give the output format. I think most people forget this. So they ask a lot of stuff, but they don't say how they want to have this output. So for example, if you want something to be summarized and you want it to be very clear, as in point-wise, you can say, okay, summarize the differences and format it as a table, or format it as a script, or as a C++ script, a Python script. Those kind of things are very important to input. Then, what is the style that you prefer GPT to give you? Do you want it to be a short answer, a long answer? I think by default, it always gives you a super long answer, and it takes up a lot of time. So sometimes I just say, okay, I want a super very short answer to the point in one sentence, for example, and GPT will do that then. You can also tell it to explain it to you at different levels. So for example, if you don't understand anything at all, you can say, explain machine learning model to me as if I'm a high school student. Or if you want it to be more at your level, you can say, okay, I am a physics master student, but I have no machine learning model background. Explain it to me. So I always start every chat by introducing myself, saying like, okay, I'm a 4G RPC, particle physics student. I work on Common Sen. I work mostly with Python, blah, 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 blah. And then GPT knows what my level is, and it will not over-explain physics to me, that kind of stuff. So this is a couple of tips that can help you with writing a very good prompt. Then the last one is, again, about how you can chat with ChatGPT to make your output even better. So for example, if you didn't like the answer, you say, I will give you more information and I want new output, for example. I've noticed lately that sometimes if you feed it some code and you ask some question about it, or you ask, can you please change this for me? But you ask the wrong thing and it ends up like giving you this weird code and you continue asking about it, it just stays in this loop of using the old code and not wanting to give you the new good answers. So then I just like delete the whole chat and I start over. So sometimes when you feel like you're stuck in this loop, just delete your chat and start a new one. Okay, yeah, so this is very important for having good prompts, and you can look up this presentation later if you want to use any of these points. So this is an example. I asked ChatGPT to give me a good example prompt, and then I changed certain stuff. So what I'm doing here is I introduce myself. I'm a third-year physics graduate student in high-energy particle physics, working for the Camelot neutrino detector. Then I say what my level is, machine learning. So I just started machine learning, following one lecture about deep neural networks. I have an existing deep learning model trained on waveform data, but I want to modify it to use neutron coordinates instead. So I say what I have, what is in the code, and what I want. Then I tell it what my data consists of, so X, Y, Z, T neutron positions. And I input a couple of my data lines. I like to do this because then ChatGPT sees exactly what, for example, every branch is called or that kind of stuff. So what I'm now asking GPT is, I put in this FCNet neural network that you guys are all running, but I want to put in my own data instead of the waveform data. And that's why I give it some of my own data lines. Then I tell it what to do. So I want it to give me guidance on the best way to pre-process and use my data into the existing model. And then I also put in the whole existing model. You can either put in the file or you can just copy and paste everything. I like to copy and paste everything, and sometimes I also tell it to like, okay, I will first input the first function, wait with answering, then I'll input the second function, like however you like to input your data. And then I tell it, please provide me one, a step-by-step plan on formatting my data to replace the waveform input. Two, I ask it for some recommendations on normalization because I just learned that normalization is so important. So I want to ask it about that. And then three, I ask for tips because I want to test the performance more. And four, I ask it for the complete script using my data. And I want GPT to put extra tests so that after every function, I can put a print statement and I can run my functions one by one and see if I understand everything, because that's actually the most important part, to understand it. And then I also ask it to explain every step that it changed compared to what I put into the machine learning model. And lastly, what I always do, if you're missing any information to generate my task, ask me for more details. Just as one sentence can really change your output of the prompt, because I will stop answering and ask you some questions, which I will show you later. So please look back to this PowerPoint slide if you are making your own prompt and try to do it in the same format.
Okay, this is excellent. This is so useful. Did you upload it to the book?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So I think after I finish talking, maybe everyone can make one prompt that they find super solid for themselves and put it in ChatGPT to see what your output is and if it changes a lot. Then this is actually something that is a new feature from I think the new GPT version or before the new GPT version, and that is something called customize your ChatGPT. If you have the paid version, you can put this in by automatic. If you don't have the paid version, that's fine. It just means that every time you open a new chat, you have to input your customization lines. So what do I mean with that? There's two questions that you want to answer before you start asking your real question. So how would you like GPT to respond? So every time I start a new chat, I just copy and paste this information that I have. So I always have this standing. I want to the point answers, especially when I ask about programming related things. Break down complex problems into smaller steps and explain each one using reasoning. So instead of it giving me like a huge answer, it just breaks it down step by step. If my question is unclear or missing context, ask me for more details to confirm your understanding before answering. So that's the same as this last sentence. If you're missing any information, ask me for more details. And this last sentence is also very important. If information is beyond your knowledge cutoff date, respond with I don't know. So GPT is trained until a certain date. I don't know well, it used to be 2021. I don't know if it's later or not. But sometimes if you ask for information, for example, what were the most important articles about Kamland last year, it will make up something. It will just say, these articles, which is outdated. So instead of it making up something, it will now return, I don't know, to me. Especially when you're asking for some up-to-date stuff, this is important. But if you're asking for up-to-date stuff, maybe you should use something else as well. Now you can also, GPT can actually Google stuff for you, but I'm not sure if that is not in the paid, if it's only in the paid version or not. So you have to look it up. And I start every chat with how I want to be treated. So for example, in this chat, I would like to be treated as a completely new student on machine learning. But I also want ChatGPT to know that I'm a physics student and not majoring in history or something. So I introduce myself and I say how I want to be treated. That way it will not give me all these machine learning words that I don't know. In the paste version, there's the option customize ChatGPT. I'm going to show you. So if you go to your profile, who here has paid version of ChatGPT?
I used to, but I switched to cloud.
Okay.
Maybe I'll switch back to ChatGPT.
Okay. Well, okay, I'm gonna show you in case you are gonna pay for it. You can do customized ChatGPT, and then it has these two questions that I just told you. What traits should ChatGPT have? And anything else ChatGPT should know about you. You can just put in all the stuff that I just told you. So it's automatically in every chat, it will read this. But if you don't have it, just copy and paste it into every chat you start. And you can make your chat as long as you want. So if you don't want to, just don't start a new chat if you don't think it's necessary. And then also on the paid version, there's Explorer GPTs, which are pre-trained ChatGPTs that are good in certain stuff. So for example, if I search for machine learning, then there's, for example, this machine learning one, which is where people put a lot of machine learning information into it. So this one is very good at that specific task. It means it's not so good at other tests. For example, it cannot generate a picture or something. But I use, for example, you can see here, I use one of the machine learning ones sometimes. You can also train your own GPT. Also, if you don't have the paid version, you just open a new chat and you just put in all the information that you want to give it. So for example, if you want to know the last 3 Kamlan-Sen papers, just put in those papers and then it can answer your questions about it. Okay, then some last tips and tricks, which I actually already explained. So I would create a standard format for your questions. So make something that looks like this, what you like, and save this text that I talked about in somewhere so that you can copy and paste it every time you need it. It's easier for you. And if you don't know what kind of data you want to input in GPT, just ask it. You can say, okay, I want to change my machine learning model. This will include new data format, and ask me at least 3 questions about my data set. So then the goal and anything else you need to complete the task. So then you know what you have to put in. I actually use this quite a lot when I don't know if I'm missing something. I put some stuff in and then ask GPT, hey, what else should I provide to you? Okay, this I already stretched a lot of time, but make sure you understand everything you use from GPT. I think this comes back a lot. You should really make sure that you understand these steps. I put in a link to one of the videos that I watched about GPT that gives most of these tips and more. You can watch it if you want to use this more. Then there's also other tools. So now I've only been talking about ChatGPT, and that's because I pay for it. So I use it a lot. But there's also other tools. So there's Copilot, which you can use, for example, in Visual Studio Code. And there's Gemini, which you can use in Google Colab. So you can use that during this session if you want. I think those are very good for small tasks, but it doesn't always give you a very extensive explanation. So if you want to change something very fast, like, oh, plot this line for me, you can use those two. But if you want to change the whole model and understand the whole model, I would recommend using another AI tool like GPT or Cloud AI. So I didn't even know that this existed until 4 weeks ago when Omo told me about it. And then I used it, and actually I really like it for when I want to ask for a full script because it has very good format. And I think Cloud AI is the best at programming, and ChatGPT is better at more all other tasks together. But I don't have any knowledge on Cloud, so I recommend you to just use both and see what you like more. It's all the same. Also in Cloud, the prompt is also the most important. So the prompt you use in ChatGPT, you should also just use in Cloud. Sometimes, if I want to check that my code is really good, I I let Cloud AI generate it for me, and then I put it in ChatGPT, and I ask, oh, can you optimize this, and do you see any errors? And sometimes there are errors that ChatGPT sees and that Cloud thought was not incorrect.
One thing is that Copilot Pro, which uses ChatGPT under the hood, but basically is free if you're a student.
Ah, nice.
So you can ask for the Copilot Pro for free if you have GitHub education.
Can you then also ask questions to the...
Yeah, you can ask questions inside Visual Studio Code.
Okay, yeah.
And it uses ChatGPT, so it's basically having ChatGPT Pro, but free.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually don't know if they need an EDU address.
If what?
If they need an EDU address, because I don't know if the Japanese student have access to it, because they don't have a .edu address, right?
No, but I also don't. I have a .org, and if you attach a PDF with the certificate,
Nice.
it's fine.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think I did the same with you have to like on GitHub do some stuff.
Yeah. Also, like I applied for the teacher, even if I'm not really a teacher, but they accepted my certificate.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So do look into Copilot Pro. Apparently it's free, which is nice. Okay, so I wanted to show you one example where I'm changing this FCnet to a transformer. The lines for this I put into this slide, and you can also see the chat through this link. But I'm going to show you this one. So I'm asking two questions I'm going to ask two questions. So my first question is, I have this neural network code, and I want to change my input to use my own input. So for example, something you can also do is use one of the data that you have and want to analyze and just put it in this neural network to see what the outcome is, just to play with it and understand it. So the question I had on the slide, that's just what I put in. I asked about the guidance, so I already explained this to you. What I say here is, so I have to input the existing model, right? But I say instead, please, I will put that in the next step. Please wait with answering, except if you are missing any information. So before I put in a model, I ask it, are you missing any information? And actually, this was really good because apparently I forgot to put in what my model is predicting. So I forgot to tell ChatGPT I want to distinguish background and signal. So I can also make mistakes. And it asks me more stuff about what is this, the input shape that you are expecting. So it's asking me like, am I understanding this correctly? Which is because I customized my ChatGPT. And some other random questions, but especially this model prediction was very important. So I answered it, and I put in my
Our model, basically.
yeah. I like you can also put in your model as a .py file, but I just like to do it this way. It's just whatever you prefer. And then it gives me a step-by-step plan to modify the model because that's what I asked. And it just tells me like, okay, now before you were using waveforms, now we're putting in this data. We're going to normalize it this way, blah, 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 blah. And it gives me recommendations for normalization because I asked it, suggestions, and then it gives me the complete script, which you can, well, it looks a lot like the old script because I put in the old script, and it just changes some stuff. And I think that's very useful because that means if you understand your first script, you will also understand your second script and your third script, etc. But what I noticed is that it was using some stacking, which I never do. So I asked it, what I did is I explained more about the physics because I didn't do that. So I say, I will explain a bit more what physics results I'm looking at. Then I say, okay, I'm looking at manipulation events because that's in my case. And that I want to change oh, I don't do anything about okay, now I say I want to change the code from before into a PyTorch transformer since my events will be variable length. Then I say what I return per event and where the varying number is. And I ask, can you give me a script where a transformer is implemented correctly? And then explain all the new steps in detail so I understand what every new step in the script is doing, since I don't have any knowledge on transformer. So I tell it again, like, okay, I had one machine learning lecture, but I don't have any knowledge on transformer. So it's gonna treat me as a complete noob. And then it gives me a transformer model. And first it tells me what it's doing. So how it's changing my input again. And it gives me a plan. And then it gives me the code, which you can just instantly use. And then I say, okay, because I'm a complete noob, right? But I inputted in at the start that I always want short answers. However, now I don't want short answers. I want to understand the transformer. So I say, your answers are too short. Please explain in detail why any new steps are taken. And then I give an example. For example, what is a padding nest? And why do you take dimension feed forward 128? And then I also say I don't want to use any stacking things since I'm not familiar with that function. So if you see any function you don't like and you know that there is something else you can use, then you can tell it that. And I noticed that it was, for example, not using this one function, which I have seen before, so I just ask it. And then it's explaining me in more detail, blah, 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 blah. See, it's like taking every function and explaining what's going on there. And why is it doing it in this way? Because I told it at the start that I want to always break down complex problems in smaller steps. So only by using this input question, it always makes a good output for me. And yeah, okay, I think that was it. I don't think I have anything. So yeah. So yeah, that was it.
Yeah, this is very beautiful. Thanks, Kelly.